you don't believe in the Yawm al-Qiyamah, your tawheed's not complete. So knowing Allah is one is not enough. You have to know who taught you that. Because the Jews and the Christians no longer know Allah is one the way we know Allah is one. The Christians believe that He's three in one. And the Jews believe that He has parts. Right? The Jews actually believe, they have anthropomorphism. If you study Jewish theology, they have anthropomorphism. They believe that Allah is in space. If you're in space, then you fill up, you need space. So you're dependent. How can Allah be in space? But then you say, well, then that means Allah is nothing. No, that doesn't mean Allah is nothing. It just means you can't think of what Allah is. Because all you know is space. So you assume everything has to fill space. That's only because you're analogically reasoning with your intellect. But when we speak about Allah, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, there's nothing like Him. So all we know is He doesn't have space. We don't know His nature, because we can't know His nature, but we know the negative aspects. We know the salbiyat. Right? So Allah has existence without space. Now, أصول نعم المرافق للإحراث أربع. He says, if you forget the ni'mah, if you're ignorant of the ni'mah, you don't know it. And if you don't know it, you don't give gratitude. And if you don't give gratitude, it gets cut off. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. See, you have to know the ni'mah of Allah, because you'll lose them. What does he say? وأصول نعم المرافق للإحراث أربع. The root blessings are four. Right? The first blessing is the nutfa, because all of living creatures came from it. In other words, you were initially a zygote, and Allah brought you forth from a zygote. Zygote is just, it's two proteins that come together and form the first cell. That's what we were initially. And then al-harf, right? This is a blessing. الذي أخرج من خزائن الأرض جميع الثمر. Everything that was brought out, Allah brought forth from the earth was the blessing of bringing forth all of the plant life, the vegetative life. So the first is animal life, and then vegetative life. Right? And then what he says, the next is al-ma. Right? Because without water, there's no animal or vegetable life. So you have animal life, vegetable life. And then you have the blessing of water, without which neither can exist. And then fire. Right? Because fire, with it you have light that you can see and live. And then you have all the blessings of food from it. Right? And then also because for the people of inner sight. And he said this is why all four of them were mentioned at the end of Surah Al-Waqi'ah. وهذه النعم هي التي ذكرها المنعم في آخر سورة الواقعة وأضافها إلى نفسه عز وجل. See, why did he... I mean, look at this. ومن أفضل النعم وأجلها نعمة الإيمان. From the greatest of blessings and the most exalted is the blessing of Iman. ثم نعمة الرسول, and the blessing of the Rasul. But see, Iman also comes from the prophets. Do you see? In other words, if you didn't have prophets, you wouldn't know what to believe. So, recognize the blessing of the prophet. There's no doubt our belief is our greatest ni'mah, because by it we will enter paradise. Insha'Allah. But the blessing of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that he came to teach us this iman. Alhamdulillah. ثم نعمة القرآن ثم أن جعلنا من خير أمة أخرجت للناس. And then that he brought us out from the best of all the nations. Right? He brought us out from the best. Can I see that? The Mus'haf there. He brought us out. See, we could have been Muslims from Bani Israel, which is a great blessing, but it's not the blessing of being Muslims from the Prophet's Ummah. We could have been Muslims from the Nasara. It's not the same as being Muslims from خير أمة أخرجت لنا. We could have been Muslims from the time of Ibrahim, which would have been a great blessing, but not the same as being from Habibullah al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So that is a great blessing to be from the people of Islam. Now if you look here at these blessings, because just really think about this. Right? أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تُمْنُونَ. Have you reflected on what you tumnun? That goes for men and women, because the woman also, she has that as well. Right? Both men and women have this, imna. The woman is the ovary, and the man it's the semen. Right? And those two come together. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us that. See, people didn't know that the woman had a role in, they thought, they didn't know that before that. So he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تُمْنُونَ. Have you considered what comes, ejaculate? Have you considered that? أَأَنْتُمْ تَخْلُقُونَهُ أَمْ نَحْنُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Did we create it or did you create it? Right? Have you reflected on it? Did we create it or in other words, نِعْمَةَ الْإِيجَاد. Did you bring yourselves into existence or did we bring you into existence? Reflect on that. That's the asl al-ni'am al-nutfa. Right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نحن قدرنا بينكم الموت أأنتم تخلقونهم نحن الخالقون نحن قدرنا بينكم الموت وما نحن بمسبوقين. We have determined amongst you your lifespans, and we will not be stinted in that determination. Right? على أن نبدل أمثالكم وننشئكم فيما لا تعلمون. That you will replace the likenesses of you. We will bring you again from something you're not even aware of. Now this, Shaykh Abdullah bin Bayyah said, is even the possibility of cloning is in that ayah. Because he said, على أن نبدل أمثالكم. We can change the way you're being created. وَنُنْشِئُكُمْ فِي مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And we'll create you a different way. We're still doing it. If you have a test tube baby, we're still doing it. You take your ovum out in an operation, you take your semen out, and you put them together in a test tube baby, replant it. We're still doing it. Don't get deluded. You think you can clone? Don't get deluded. It's still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? أَنُّبَدِّرُ أَمْثَالَكُمْ. We'll change your likenesses. وَنُنْشِئُكُمْ فِي مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. In things that you don't even know about yet. 1400 years ago. وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ النَّشَأَةَ الْأُولَى. And you know how you were first created. فَلَوْلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Would that you wouldn't reflect on this. Right? You knew how we first brought you about. There will be other ways. Which is also an indication we can bring you about in the next world. Because that's what the initial tafsir was. أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تَحْرُثُونَ الْحَرْث. Have you thought about what you're cultivating? أَأَنْتُمْ تَزْرَعُونَهُ أَمْ نَحْنُ الزَّارِعُونَ. Are you doing it? Are you cultivating this? Or are we cultivating it? Because you go out, you put the seed in, you cover it with earth, you water it. Did you do that? Or are we doing it? In other words, all you are is a sabab. But who's really doing it all? Who gave you the ability to walk? Who gave you the strength in your bodies from your food to do all these things? Who did it all? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَوْ نَشَاءُ لَجَعَلْنَاهُ حُطَامًا فَظَلْتُمْ تَفَكَّهُونَ إِنَّا لَمُغْرَمُونَ بَلْ نَحْنُ مَحْرُومُونَ. So, had we wanted, we would have made it all chafe. In other words, you plant it and we just destroy it. Look at all the things that can happen once you plant. Allah can send locusts, they eat it all. He can send a drought, kill it all. So you think you're doing this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then you'll say, oh, we're mahrumun. No, now we're deprived. Right? So you think you're doing, it's all to remind people you're not doing anything. Don't get deluded about this. Now look at this. أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ الْمَاءَ الَّذِي تَشْرَبُونَ. Haven't you thought about water that you're drinking? Haven't you reflected on the water that you're drinking? أَأَنْتُمْ, right? أَنْزَلْتُمُوهُ مِنَ الْمُزْنِ أَمْ نَحْنُ الْمُنْزِلُونَ. Did you maintain it in the clouds? Right? Are you the one that brought it up into the clouds? Or are we the ones that brought it down to you? Did you do it or did we do it? Right? I mean, now think of the hydrological cycle. Right? All that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing that. And then, ni'mat al-nar. Right? And then Allah reminds us, لَوْ نَشَاءُ جَعَلْنَاهُ أُجَاجًا. Had we wanted, we would have made it bitter, brackish. فَلَوْلَا تَشْكُرُونَ. Would that you would just show gratitude. This is all about gratitude. That's all Allah is saying. أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ النَّارَ الَّتِي تُورُونَ. Look at the fire that you're bringing about. أَأَنْتُمْ أَنشَأْتُمْ شَجَرَتَهَا أَمْ نَحْنُ الْمُنشِئُونَ. Did you bring that fire about, or did we bring it about? Who dried the tree? Right? Why does the tree change? It goes, you can't try to start a fire with a living tree. Really, try to do it. Try to start a living tree on fire. Who dried it out? Right? Who made it flammable? أَأَنْتُمْ أَنشَأْتُمْ شَجَرَةً نَحْنُ الْمُنشِئُونَ. Did we do it or you? Right? نَحْنُ جَعَلْنَاهَا تَذْكِرَةً وَمَتَاعًا لِلْمُقْوِينَ. We did this as a tadhkira وَمَتَاعًا لِلْمُقْوِينَ, and a way of making travelers have ease in their journeys. The ability to light fire on a cold night when you're traveling. فَسَبِّحْ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الْعَظِيمِ. Say Subhanallah. I mean, really, reflect on these and then say, Subhanallah. I mean, who's that? This is a man, right, unlettered from the Arabian Peninsula. This is just one small verse. And he's saying, think about those 4 ni'am. The ni'mah of your fluids, your vital fluids. The ni'mah of your agriculture that gave you those vital fluids. The ni'mah of water that gave you the agriculture. And then the ni'mah of fire that gives you benefit from. And then, سَبِّحْ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ. And I swear by the where I've placed the stars. وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. This is a great oath if you but knew. Look up into the sky. It's a great oath. Now they tell you, oh, that star's 400 million light years away. Meaning traveling 186,000 miles per second, it would take you 400 million years to get there. And they know that now. 400 million light years. Did you see what he said at the astronomy thing? You know what he said? I don't know if people were paying attention. Okay. You know what he said? He said, when you look up in the sky, all you should see is light. Because when they take their telescopes, the closer they get, the more dense the light gets. Did you see those pictures? Remember they showed us how the sky should look? Remember they said that? How the sky should look at night if it was following normal physics. That's why they got the idea of dark matter. Because they realized only some of these lights are penetrating. What's happening? Why are only some of them penetrating? وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقِ النَّجْمُ ثَاقِبٌ. The night and the light visitors. The stars that visit you. And what will convey to you what those visiting stars are? The ones who penetrate. In other words, there's all these ones up there that aren't penetrating. But there's ones that are called tariq. Who taught him that? Who taught it? Why does Allah swear an oath about that? وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ. Who ever thought of that? By the heavens and those night visitors. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقِ. In other words, their light is visiting the earth. And what will convey to you what a night visitor is? Because the Arabs knew what a night visitor is. You know what a night visitor is? A tariq? He's the guy that knocks on your door at night. He shows up. That's what a tariq is. But that's not the tariq Allah is talking about. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقِ النَّجْمُ ثَاقِبٌ. The star that pierces and comes to the earth. Really, it just goes on and on and on. I'm serious. You just start looking at that book and you'll just start seeing it. Just goes on and on and on. I mean, why don't they believe? Because they've never even examined it. When I was 16 years old, I came to the realization that the only reason I was a Christian is because I was born in a Christian family. I realized that. I said, the only reason I'm a Christian is because my parents told me Jesus was my Savior, blah, blah, blah. Right? That's the only reason. I realized that. I just realized, I thought, if I was born in Sri Lanka, I would be a Buddhist. Because my parents would tell me, here's your God, and pray to Him, you'll get whatever you want. If I was born in Israel, I would have been a Jew, maybe, or a Palestinian. But I realized that. I realized at 16, I remember very clearly that realization. The only reason I'm a Christian is because I was born a Christian. And then I thought, I should think about this. And then I thought, okay, let me look at these world religions. And I took this class in world religions at a college. And we had the book by Houston Smith, World Religions, right? Religions of Man or something like that. And I started reading about this, and I think, they have 1 billion followers? What do they believe? They have this. And I started thinking about all these different religions. I started studying them. And I remember studying Judaism, and I had to eliminate it off my list. Because they said you have to be born a Jew. I said, well, that excludes me from the thing. You know, just eliminate it off the list of possibilities. And then I looked at Hinduism. I thought monkeys and elephants, and it's a jungle. I'm in California, you know. I mean, maybe if it had surfing gods or whatever, you know, but it's just not very conducive to my geographical location. You know, really. And then I remember looking at I liked Taoism, but it seemed like it wasn't a religion, and I liked the fact that the idea of God made a lot of sense to me. And then I remember hitting on Islam. And I thought, now wait a second, what's going on here? And then I went and I got a Quran. It's a bad translation. But I got this Quran and I read the introduction. I remember saying, the whole of the Islamic creed is summed up in the statement, there is no God but God, and Muhammad is His messenger. And I went, what does that mean? You know, really, there is no God but God. I mean, that's such a strange statement when you first hear that, you know. I don't know about people in here, but the first time I heard that, I remember thinking, well, I wanted to know what that means. There's no God but God. I mean, now I know what it means, but then, you know, I was thinking, what does that mean? I mean, it's better to translate, there's nothing worthy of worship in reality but God. But there's no God but God is a very strange translation. But I remember and there was something very intriguing about it. There's no God but God. And I remember I started saying, there's no God but God. It was kind of like some kind of Zen koan. Like, what's the trick here? You know, what is it? What am I supposed to realize here? And then I realized what it meant. That's it. There's no God but God. That makes perfect sense. There's nothing else that can be worshipped but what's worshipped in truth. لا معبود بحق سوى الله. That's how our ulama interpret it. لا معبود بحق سوى الله. There is nothing worshipped in truth except Allah. Everything other than Allah that is worshipped by falsehood. But then the second one, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger of God. What does that mean? Who was that man? Then you start reading about that and you realize, this is amazing. You know why? And why haven't we been taught this? Because I remember when I became Muslim, I wrote my father a letter, and he wrote me a letter back, and he said, because the first thing he did, he read Gibbon, The Decline and Fall of Roman Empire. He read the section on Islam, and Gibbon actually, despite some of the things that he says, he preferred Islam to Christianity, and he does say that it's a great religion. And he talks about the theology of Islam makes a lot more sense than the theology of Christianity. So he read that, and he wrote me a letter saying that our ignorance of Islam is historical. You know, we should know more about this religion. The fact that it had such a massive impact on the world. Why don't we know about that? I mean, really, why don't people know about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a historical? Everybody knows about Napoleon. Do you think Napoleon had more impact on human history? People know about Napoleon. They know about Waterloo. People know about, Michael Jordan. Really, they know he's the greatest basketball player that ever lived. Americans know that. Americans know about, General Grant. They know about Sherman, the defeat of Atlanta. They know about all these things that are so insignificant in terms of human history. And nobody, yet you ask them about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, no, that's that crazy religion. Right? Really, why is it crazy? Well, that guy Osama bin Laden. Well, no, wait a second. Let's follow this through here. Do you remember that guy down in... I mean, I'm not comparing, but I'm just saying same logic. Do you remember that guy down in Waco, Texas? Waco, Texas. Do you remember that guy down in Waco, Texas? Which guy? That guy. Remember that guy that... David Koresh? Oh yeah, that crazy guy. Well, wait, wasn't he a Christian? Well, he said he was. Well, okay, so you mean he doesn't represent all Christians? No, that would be stupid. So does Osama bin Laden represent all Muslims? I mean, same logic. By just a simple... I was on a plane once and my wife, we were in that... those where you face each other? Southwest Airlines. You face each other. And my wife was facing this lady. And about halfway through the flight, she just kind of blurted out. Because my wife was wearing a hijab, and she had her baby with her. And she said... Did you ever see that movie Not Without My Daughter? That's what she said. And that's the type of people that fly on Southwest Airlines. But anyway, that's another thing. No, I'm just kidding. That was cruel. I'd fly on Southwest Airlines. So, I looked at this lady and I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, it was about these Muslims that kidnap babies and things. And I just said to her, I said, have you ever looked on your milk carton? You know that thing that says missing on the back? Or you get those things in the mail that say missing? She said, yeah. I said, do you get them regularly? She said, yeah. I said, it's amazing, huh? Now if you read it, it'll say Toby Smith. Last seen with Kelly Smith. Right? So who kidnapped her? The biological parent. Because almost all those kidnappings are divorce situations. And I just said to her, Americans are kidnapping their babies all the time. I mean, that's why made of a guy child to be raised. That makes sense. But I said if they would teach logic in public schools, just teach... Yeah, that makes sense. But I said if they would teach logic in their public schools, just teach them how to think logically. It's really sad. People can't think anymore. Every time there's a terrorist thing, I have a friend who's an Egyptian, he does Egyptian tours. Every time there's a terrorist event in anywhere in the world by Muslims, all his flights to Cairo, the people cancel them. You'll be much safer in Cairo than you would going into San Francisco today. You have much better chance of surviving a day in Cairo than a day in San Francisco. Really. But people can't think anymore. It's like getting struck by lightning. It's very highly unlikely that you'll be struck by lightning. So don't start worrying about it. It's all fear. This is what shaitan ya'idukum al-faqr. Shaitan ya'murukum bil-fahsha. Shaitan's always about fear. Don't go there. Those are dangerous people. People ask me, aren't you frightened going to the Muslim world? I said, I'm frightened living in America. If I'm going to be frightened, I'm going to be frightened about realistic concerns. Right? Really. I should be worried about living in California. We're on the most incredible fault line on this planet, according to geologists. It goes right through Hayward, California. It's probably right under Zaytuna Institute. It's the biggest fault line on the planet. If I'm going to start worrying, I should worry about that. But why worry? Whose hands are we in? Really, whose hands am I in? My hands? Are you protecting yourself? Really, it's all crazy. So just be grateful. Just say Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. Start thanking Allah. What religion was first? Islam. How many one increase his or her love for best of creation? I mean, the best way is to do prayers on the Prophet ﷺ and read about his life. How would you suggest we cultivate love for the Prophet ﷺ and for our young people? I mean, you need to do shama'il and find out about his life. Speaking of being grateful for water, we have many Muslims waste so much water during wudu and ghusl. Yeah, don't waste water. Conservation is part of Islam. That's absolutely really true. How did the Prophet ﷺ visit Allah if he's not in space or time? That is the Isra was movement there was spatial movement according to the majority of our scholars. Some of the scholars do not believe it was in the body, right? But the majority do, and that's the dominant opinion. But visiting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not in there was no time-space element there, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not linear type of seeing. We believe in the vision of Allah, but it's not, you don't see it with like linear. Allah's not in a place and you're somewhere else and you see Allah. Don't get all that idea. That's all anthropomorphism. It's not part of Islam. Could you please elaborate on what Dr. Blankenship said about religion and state? I'm actually going to try to publish that. But his remark was that whenever the state co-opts religion, I mean, the thing about Muslims, we don't believe in a separation of church and state, or religion and state. We would hope that the religion of a government is Islam, and that is the majority of our Muslim countries. The official religion of the government is Islam. But what the danger is when the state attempts to be the source of religious knowledge, the source of religious. It just becomes a propaganda. It's a state religion, and it becomes propaganda, and they use it, and that alienates. It ultimately leads to alienation from the religion. People don't like the religion anymore. And that's why whenever a state co-opts the religion, it ends up having terrible effects on the hearts of the people. Whereas what Islam traditionally did is that we had mahakim shar'iyya, we had Islamic courts, and the qadis, our ulama used to flee from being qudat. But some of the qudats were great qadis. And one of the things about qadis is in the Maliki madhab, it's considered that he should be independently wealthy and not need to receive money from the state. Right? Imam Sahnun, when he became the qadi of the Aghaliba, who were the rulers of, he made 3 stipulations. One of them that he would be a qadi for the ruling family. In other words, if anybody in the ruling family did something wrong, that he would be the judge. Second, that he would implement the had punishments. So if he judged something, he would implement it. And then also that I think it might have been that he did not take money. But he put stipulations. So the Malikis had a lot of great qadis, but generally they were very independent people. And they used to warn the rulers. I mean, that's the best thing for an alim to do, is be a warner to the ruler. But once you enter into the employment of the ruler, it's a little bit difficult because, there's a proverb, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Right? And there's a reality to that. I mean, I'll tell you something about King Hassan. A lot of people don't know this. In the Durus al-Hassaniyah, the scholars that are invited there are never told to turn in their papers and say what they're going to say. And I know that for a fact. Anybody that gets up on that mimbar to speak in front of the king can say whatever he wants. Right? What's that? In Morocco. Yeah. And, so people that want to say all the pleasing things, they can say that. People that want to say the truth can say that. But most people, because of the fear of reprisal, the fear of, but the visiting scholars from different countries, they don't have that fear. That's why there are scholars that have got up and said very strong things in the presence of the king. If Allah withholds something from you, how do you know if he did it as a punishment or a blessing. It's not, that's not your, I mean, if you're a Muslim and you believe in Allah, you should see it as a blessing. You know, we don't believe, we should not think, you know, that we're being punished by Allah. We're being disciplined. Right? That's how we should see it. There's that, you know, the thing that Abdul Hakim Winter wrote about the Turkish earthquake, إِذَا تَجَلَّ الْكِرِيمُ بِاسْمِ مُنْتَقِمِ, when the generous one reveals himself as the avenger of wrongs. The Turkish government is, I mean, basically a completely secular, anti-Islamic, you know, government. I mean, they're openly against Islam, right? They are openly against Islam. So, you know, and there are a lot of secular people in there. So, McDonald's in Mecca, why is it bad? Yeah, I mean, I'm just saddened by questions like that. But first of all, Ronald McDonald is not a Muslim. And in order to make pilgrimage, you have to take off your clown suit. But, you know, the thing about, I mean, if Muslims can't produce their own restaurants, we're in pretty bad shape. You know, I mean, we have to understand that economics is war now. That's how wars are fought. If you look in the business section, just look at the business section in an American bookstore. Attila the Hun's Advice to CEOs. I mean, that's a book, right? You know, Napoleon's strategies for corporate management. I mean, they look at it as war. You know, corporations, they view it as war. And the art of war, I mean, the art of war is studied in business schools. Lao Tzu, the art of war, it's studied in business schools. The war of the present time is economics. Really. That is how people fight wars now. You want to defeat a country? Wipe them out economically. That's why the Muslim, all the Muslim countries, they won't let a Muslim country, look what happened to Malaysia at the point that it was beginning to emerge, as they called it, the Asian tiger, blah, blah, blah. Boom, they just completely devalued its currency. Right? And then they tried to get them into debt. And Mahathir, you know, I mean, I'm not going to sing his praises. I don't really know the policies well enough. But I would say that the fact that he did not want to take loans from the IMF was a very intelligent move. And people don't realize that the other man did. He was trying to convince them to take loans to get into, you know. But once you go on that route, that you're finished. You're over. Debts. And mercantilism is all based on. So, you know, economics is, I mean, first of all, Muslim fast food is the best fast food in the world. Really. It's the best fast food in the world. I mean, Muslims have been doing shawarma and falafel, and these are ancient things. You know, they're much healthier, they're better for you, and they're halal and they're clean. Why should you trust these guys are giving you halal meat? You go to McDonald's and say, oh, brother, it's halal. Well, where's it coming from? Australia. How do you know? That one guy went and found a company in Australia. In fact, this actually happened. They were Hindus that were killing the cows. And the Hindus exposed it because it was a Muslim factory for halal meat. And the Hindus were the butchers. And the Hindus exposed it to get these, because cows are sacred to them. So, who knows what's going on? I mean, I don't know what's going on. I wouldn't trust McDonald's. They just lied about they admitted now there's beef fat in there. They lied about that. All they think about is money. Right? Safeway had pork in the meat. Do you remember that case? No, it was about 4 or 5 years ago. Their beef was contaminated with pork. Right? Because they use the same machine. They just throw it in there. Big deal. You know, hey, Bernie, don't worry about that. Just, you know, it'll go through one time and then it's okay. They don't care. That's the most dangerous job in America, is to work in a meat factory. They have the highest rate of on-the-job injuries than any other people. They're paid minimum wage. You know, most of them are poor people, overweight, and they're not well. That happened back in the turn of the century. There was a person went through a meat grinder, and they didn't tell anybody about it. It was exposed in a famous case. Maybe that happens already. Who knows? Maybe a cat jumped on there. A big deal. No problem. No, seriously. What do you think? You know what's in there? I wouldn't eat a hot dog. I would eat a cold dog. Seriously. Yeah, that's what the Iranian, this friend I know, when he first came to America, this American said to him, "You have to come have a hot dog." He said, "My friend, in my country we don't eat dogs hot or cold." But hot dog is the scrapes of the meat. They get the worst meat. It's the stuff they throw away. It's all intestines and horrible things. You know, it's sickening. Make you ill. Don't eat that stuff. I wouldn't eat any of that stuff. Stop. Become vegetarian. You know? No, what does that mean? I don't know. Mechanically separated. You know? What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what any of it means. I don't even know what halal meat means anymore. I mean, I saw halal milk. It said kosher milk. And I called up because I got worried. I thought, oh my God, you know, something in the milk. So I called up this Jewish Strauss farm up in Sonoma, and I got this lady, and I said, can I talk to a manager? And they brought me a manager, and I said, listen, I was just wondering, I saw you said kosher. What makes other milk non-kosher? And she says, well, it's all kosher. I said, so why are you calling it kosher milk? And she said, well, people like kosher, you know, it sounds good, and they feel it's pure, you know, and we try to have a pure product, and so that's all. So halal milk, you know, what does that mean, halal milk? Seriously, buy organic milk. Organic milk doesn't have animal products in it other than the milk, which is halal. And, you know, you can buy it. I wouldn't buy mass-produced milk. I would not get any of the milk that you can buy. There's a lot of organic milk now. You know, but they're already trying to change organic farming laws. They want to have irradiated food, organic. You know, people say, well, what's the problem with irradiated food? Well, you know, irradiation kills living things. Well, that's okay, food's dead. The food's not dead. I mean, it's enzymatic. Enzymes are, you know, food is something, it's made out of, you know, cells. It's a living thing, food, right? I mean, that's why Sayyidina Umar said, cook your onions till you kill them. Even Sayyidina Umar said that. You know, cook your onions until you kill them. Right? So food is living, and enzymatic food is good for you. That's why it's good to drink food that still has life in it. You know, honey, the best honey is enzymatic honey. If you heat it up, it destroys all that vitality in it. So anyway, I mean, food's a big, you know, Imam Zayd gave you good advice the other day, because he knows. I mean, for me, food is one of the most essential things in our religion. I believe in really eating well, and that's the way I was raised. I was fortunate. I had a mother that was very, very concerned about. And people see my mother. My mother's 80 years old. She's 80, and she's been living according to all her food since we were little kids. You know, everybody bring these bologna sandwiches to school. We had tahini and honey on whole wheat bread. You know, seriously, and this back in the 60s. That's the way she raised us. And everybody in my family has that understanding. You know, so I was raised like that. And Islam just made sense to me. And I always got shocked at seeing how bad Muslims eat. I mean, I'm amazed Muslims can eat all these cookies with all these byproducts in them. Artificial this, artificial that. I don't want anything artificial in my body. Really. You know, I mean, I'll have a biscuit every once in a while, but I'm going to eat a healthy junk food. Or junky health food. But I'm not going to eat that junky stuff. I mean, that's just bad stuff. You know, if you're going to poison yourself, you know, use some good poison. You know, but I don't eat it. I mean, alhamdulillah, I don't have a problem with that. Some people, they see that chocolate cake, they can't stop. Yeah, I don't have, that's not a problem of mine. I really don't. I really think people should be conscious about that, People should really think about that, and you should take that out, because people that are very inclined to Islam in this culture are often the people that are concerned about those things. I mean, I gave a talk in New Jersey, and I talked about corporations and corporate culture and healthy eating and this and that. One woman who was a non-Muslim came to me afterwards, and she said, all that stuff made so much sense to me. I really believe that, this and that. I said, well, that's Islam. Islam teaches us that. But she goes out, starts seeing Muslims, and they're all drinking Pepsi Cola. Shame on you. I wouldn't drink Pepsi Cola. I wouldn't put that in my body. I would not put that in my body, really. I would not put a Coke or a Pepsi or any of that stuff. So, it's something to think about. Don't take my word for it. Just read about it. I mean, nobody reads anymore. But this is a bad time, and it's you're wondering where all this cancer is coming from and all this. And maybe Allah give you cancer if I did everything right. La qadar Allah, Allah give you cancer. Alhamdulillah. That's the way it goes. But that's an ibtila from Allah. You do the right things and still things happen to you. That's ibtila. And then you have to be patient and grateful. But there's a wisdom in everything. But you should do the asbab. Take the asbab. That's my advice. I wouldn't eat in a restaurant. One of my brothers was a gourmet chef in one of the best restaurants in Marin County. He won't eat in a restaurant. He will not eat in a restaurant. I guarantee you. He would not eat in a restaurant. And only because he worked in a restaurant. And that was one of the best restaurants in Marin County, which is, there's a lot of wealthy people there. And it was a gourmet restaurant. He won't eat in a restaurant. He says it's the most unhealthy place to get your food from. And I knew a Palestinian in New York who said that there was an Italian who, when they had Jewish customers, they would ask for no pork. He used to put lard in the food on purpose because he hated Jews. And this Palestinian, he wasn't practicing Islam at that time. He thought it was funny. He said, well, what if a Muslim comes in there? I mean, because people that hate Jews usually hate Muslims. Don't get happy because they hate Jews. That's a bad sign in this country. You don't want to be in company of people that hate Jews. I'm serious. And I don't think Muslims, we don't have any reason to hate Jews. You shouldn't hate Jews. I don't believe that. I think Jews have as right to become Muslim as everybody else. Allah speaks to them very well in the Quran, calling them to Islam and reminding them not to be people of kufr. But the Jews in this country, most of them don't know about Islam. A lot of them have become Muslim. These people, they're good people. And there's people here, we have some people here that come from that background. We should be aware of that they're good people that come out of those people. They're not evil. Jews are not evil. They're human beings. There are some Jews that do evil things. There's Muslims that do evil things. We shouldn't start. I mean, you look at the Jews, look what Saddam Hussein did to the Kurds. He gassed Kurds, his own people, Muslims, and Iraqis. And he used poisonous gas against them. So hate Saddam Hussein, I don't care, that's fine with me. You can hate him all you want. But don't just hate a people. That's not Islam. That's not our Prophet ﷺ did not teach us that. There's nowhere in the Quran or in the Hadith does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us to hate a people. That's not from Islam. And anybody that teaches you that is teaching you something against Islam. You should hate the actions of a people. وَإِنِّي لِعَمْلِكُمْ مِنَ الْقَالِينَ. I hate your actions. That's what Sayyidina Lut said to the people of Lut. These were homosexuals. He said, I hate your actions. He didn't say, I hate you. Because he was calling them to Islam. How can you call people to, you come up to a Jew and say, I hate you, you're a Jew, you're sick, you're evil. Hey, you think he's going to become Muslim? That's an encouraging call. No, you tell him, like the Prophet, look what the Prophet ﷺ said to Safiya. Safiya, who was a Jewish woman, married to a Jewish leader, became Muslim. When one of the Ummahats called her a Jewess, she went to the Prophet ﷺ complaining, saying that, he said, go tell her that your father is Harun, your uncle is Musa, and your husband is Muhammad. In other words, be proud of being a Jewess. That's your background. I mean, look at that. Really think about that. Go tell him that. Don't say, no. Say, look, I'm an Aaronite. She was an Aaronite. Right? The Aaronites are from Harun. And that's the people who were living there, Bani Nadir, they were Aaronites. She was an Aaronite. Go tell him you're an Aaronite. My uncle is Musa, and my husband is Muhammad. In other words, be proud of your heritage. There's no reason why Jews should be ashamed of. They're from Bani Israel. They were the chosen people at one time. They're not anymore. There's some that still think they are, and that's what we have to teach them. You're not chosen anymore. If you want to be chosen, you have to join Al-Mukhtar. He's the chosen one, and whoever joins him is from the chosen people. So if you want to be chosen people, they're Muslims. Which is a lot better because there's more opportunity. Spread it around. Why just Bani Israel? And let anybody come in. Black, white, yellow, Japanese, Chinese, Indians. Let them all come in, be chosen people. You too can be a chosen one. Why not? Right? So I think it's a big mistake to do. It's to be anti-Semitic, to be anti-Jewish. No. I really believe it's a wrong. I believe that. I'm not just saying that. I really believe that. I believe Muslims having protocols of learned elders of Zion in their bookstores, things like this. You know who publishes those books? White supremacists. That's the type of people you're supporting. The most vile people in this culture. But it's all true, brother. Look, that is not... The Quran tells you all you need to know about the Jews. You don't need to tell anything else. If you want to write a book about Jews, take every verse in the Quran about Jews and publish that. That's all you need to know. You don't need to read Protocols of Zion. All you need to know is what Allah says about the Jews. And He still called them to Islam. اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم. Remember the blessing I gave you. That's what we should be telling them. You're a Jew? Don't you know the blessing Allah gave you? He gave you all those prophets. Why aren't you following those prophets? And they were all told about this Prophet Muhammad. Once he denies that, khalas. But if you haven't told him that, then we don't have any right to do that. It's wrong. I believe that. I'm not just saying that. I really believe that. And I think that in this country, some of the closest people to Islam are Jews. And I believe that. These people are close to Islam. Some of the most, the people that are working hardest for social justice in this country are Jews. And that is the truth. People that are giving their time, donating, lawyers that donate their time. They do all the pro bono work. When the Muslim clinic in East LA, when they ask for money, they have Jewish doctors working there. Muslim doctors won't go down there because they don't like the area. They have Jewish doctors working there. You can tell me that's an evil person? Really? Down there in East LA, they can't get Muslim doctors to donate their time. And there's a Jewish man donating his time. He should become Muslim. They had one Jewish doctor came, donated $1,000 when I was there because he read an article in the newspaper about the work they were doing. He went down there, donated $1,000. Why hate that person because he's a Jew? Why? What's the benefit of that? No. I mean, somebody who's a Zionist, who hates Arabs, who hates Muslims, that's a bad person. That's a bad person. But not all those people are like that. A lot of them are just ignorant people, and some of them actually are against all that. So don't alienate all of them. Some of them, because we hate that done to us. We hate people making stereotypical remarks about Muslims. Why shouldn't we hate that about other people? Really, why shouldn't we hate that about other people? If you don't like being people prejudiced against you, just judging you because, boom, oh, he's a Muslim. That's a